Hey, how's it going? It's your pal Mike Squires, and this is the Couchress Podcast, episode number 237. If you're listening to this in real time as I'm releasing these, Happy New Year. It is January 2023. Pretty sure time's not real. But anyway, Happy New Year to you. Glad you made it. I am very happy to have as my guest this episode Dennis Sanders. Dennis is the singer, frontman, heartbeat behind my favorite new discovery, which is a band called Spirit in the Room. Dennis tells us a bit about his past and how Spirit in the Room sort of transitioned from being a solo performance and recording project into being a band. And the band is killer. I recommend checking out some live performance videos on YouTube. Just search Spirit in the Room, and you'll find stuff there. And there's a long form video that accompanies the EP that they released this past summer, which is my favorite release of 2022. I don't typically have like lists or anything, but that is for sure my favorite recording that I came across in 2022, and it was a pretty good year for new music. So, yeah, if you are into it, is recommended if you are into all the shit that I'm into. If you like Jesus Lizard and Failure and just like real 90s alt music, then you'll dig this. Also heavy stuff. It's very good. You're going to trust me. I'm still talking about it. Jesus. I appreciate you being here. You could be listening to anything and you're listening to me ramble. So thank you. If you enjoy the Couchress Podcast or the videos that I'm still producing, Dennis will be singing on one very, very soon. It's killer. You're going to love it. It's fucking weird. If you're enjoying it, please support us at Patreon. Patreon.com/Couchriffs. Couchriffs is free. You can listen to it, watch it, all of that, without question. That's what it's there for free. If you wish to support Couchriffs and help it grow and become bigger and better, that would be awesome. Right now, I'm able to pay Don Gunn and pay for the services to keep everything sort of floating along. And that's great because the first couple years, it just came out of my pocket and that's not sustainable. But I have big ideas that I want to pursue. So your support is greatly appreciated if you are able and willing to support Couchress. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Variety Coffee Roasters in Brooklyn, New York. Variety Coffee Roasters. I'm drinking Variety right now. It's early morning. What can I say about Variety? I drink it every day. You should too. Go to varietycoffeeroasters.com. Order some coffee. Tell them I sent you. Follow them on social media. At them. All that shit. It's great. They have a subscription service over there. They'll send you coffee however frequently you choose to get it and whatever kind of coffee you want to get. So I recommend doing that. It's great. I think that's about it. We're going to get into the episode. I had a great time talking with Dennis. I really hope that I can see this band live. This is the kind of band that I would want to be in. So just go listen. God. Don't forget the golden rule. Treat people the way you want to be treated, and don't be a fucking asshole.
I found him behind the place I work at, and he was pretty beat up. He had somebody had the collar, like a collar that was way too big for him on him, and it was wrapped from his neck around his shoulder, and it was basically embedded in his shoulder and just covered in maggots and flies coming out of this wound. And I have some friends that run that volunteer for Lux Paws in Silver Lake. So anytime there's a cat issue or something, I hit up my buddy John Siren or Gretchen, and yeah, they came and picked him up and they named him Dennis, and couple weeks later, they hit me back and asked me if I'd like to foster him. So that's what
So
I'm
you're
doing.
fostering a cat named Dennis.
Yeah. Yep.
Wait a minute. So I just saw you posted about this. That I didn't realize like
Ow.
you've got you've got that cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
He's got
that's
me. He's
amazing.
got me actually. Look at that. He's just,
Yeah, he does. He
yeah.
well, he's tough.
Yeah. He's been through some shit.
Wow. Well, he's in good company.
Yes, sir.
Um, I guess I don't want to start off stroking you too hard, but your EP I think is my favorite release of 2022. I've of anything that came out last year.
Thanks, dude.
I think I listened to it more than anything, and I know you're not a new band, but you're a new discovery for me. So uh, I'm super happy to have found your music.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Um, let's see. So where do I want to start?
Mind if I smoke?
Go for it. This isn't it's not PG. Um, your music it makes me feel like I'm in my 20s again, which is great because I'm 51. And
Dude,
I guess
you look like you're 30 something.
well, that's nice of you to say. You flirting with me? Um so I guess, and in that, I guess what I mean is that your music seems like it fits in with so many things that I was listening to in the 90s that I was really excited about, and at some point I still enjoyed some music, but I lost that excitement. Like I didn't have the same kind of excitement for music because the vibe went away. And your music has an energy and an exciting vibe to it, even with the mellower stuff. And so I'd love to hear about your influences and where you're coming from.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and also I'd love to hear about. It feels like not a. It doesn't feel like any. Still feels very evolutionary in when I listen to your body of music over the last 8 years.
Okay. Yeah.
Te- at least that's what it seems the timeline looks like to me
Yeah.
online. Um, but it does feel like a step forward sonically, and I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Okay. I write all the time. I write and I record all my own demos all the time. And um, it basically started off as a solo project. And I was just writing music that I could do by myself with a laptop and some random instruments and whatnot. But I'm also a huge fan of rock music. Like I'm not that guy that's too like rock music has always been my shit, my favorite. So I started writing rock songs, and I tried to do rock songs with a laptop, and it didn't feel good. It didn't sound good.
Right.
It wasn't right. And then I don't know. I went through a couple different lineups, you know, and I think it was around 2019, early 2019. I started playing with a live drummer, and that was where it was at. That's what I was miss. That's what I felt like I was missing the whole time. And so then I just started rebuilding the project, and I started focusing on more on music with live drums. And I do a lot of programming drums and playing them on. I have this MIDI controller. I've used this MIDI controller for everything since 2009. Every Spirit in the Room song you hear, the drums were written and programmed on this thing.
Oh.
And
How does Dennis feel about the keyboard saying "woof" on it, not "meow"? She had comments yet?
yeah, he's not. He's I don't know, man. He's more of a woofer, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's more of one of those. He's a weirdo, man. He's definitely more got some dog in him. But he's cool, man. He likes to chime in here and there. You know, like he'll jump up. I'll be playing something, and he'll jump up and bam. And who am I to take that out? You know, it's his place. You know, I'm just living in it. But yeah. So I just started writing songs with live drums instead of going to the like MPC plugin sound. I was just going to the live drum sound, and and then yeah, I just started focusing more on that stuff, and that's pretty much where it's at right now. I haven't really written. There's been a lot of like more moodier synth based kind of stuff that I've done in the past, and I still have a lot of that stuff, but I've just kind of been focused on rocking, you know, writing aggressive or groove and rock songs, and I have the greatest. This is the greatest live incarnation of the band I've had with Kevin and Philip and Jesus on bass. And so now I write with those guys in mind, you know, and that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, the stuff that I see online, the band is pretty hot.
Come here, pal. Especially Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin's always good.
Yeah, he's a looker, isn't he?
Hey.
Who's that? Who we got there?
Oh, that's Mr. Biggie.
What's up, Biggie? Biggie.
I think
Biggie.
I think my wife pulled up outside, and so these guys are. I have two dogs. Are probably going to go ape shit. If it gets too bad, I'll cut it out or just act like it's not happening.
Oh, I love it. I love dogs. I've had dogs. I've had dogs all my life. This is the first time I've had a cat since 1998.
Oh wow!
So I'm pretty much. I hate to say it, but I've always been a dog person.
Right. Yeah. You know, they both have their place.
Yeah.
It's easier to leave a cat at your home. I mean, they'll let you know when they're upset in ways that dogs won't.
Yeah. He lets me know when it's time to wake up every morning around 6 a.m.
Yeah,
He's in my face, tapping my face, licking my eyeballs, like, all right, it's time to get up. I'm like, 10 more minutes, please. 10 more minutes.
There's a pretty killer documentary that just came out on Friday. It's on Amazon called Wildcats. And it's some wildlife conservationists down in the rainforest in Peru.
Okay.
And they found an ocelot and raised it, and it's pretty intense. The one of the main human subjects is like an English Afghanistan vet, and he's got some pretty heavy trauma he's dealing with, and it's good. It's worth a watch, I think.
Wildcats. Cool.
It's a good story. Yeah, it's a good story. There's great scenes in it. I know this is as a cliche question, but I feel like it's a good place to start for a lot of people. And I just like to know, where are you from? So I literally I don't know anything about you. I know your music, and that's what I know.
It's all you need to know.
Yeah.
I was born in Illinois.
Uh-huh.
I was there till about 7 or 8 years old, and then I moved down to Louisiana. And I pretty much spent the most of my life in Louisiana. I've been out in California now for about 14 years. So I guess I could say I've been out here longer now, maybe, I guess. Yeah. I'm kind of all over, man, but Louisiana is it's just where I spent a lot of my youth. I started in bands and playing music in Louisiana for sure.
Where at?
In a place called Lafayette, Louisiana.
Okay.
I lived in I went to school and I lived in all over different parts of Louisiana, but there was this place called Indian Bayou in Vermilion Parish in Louisiana, and I lived out there for a long time. And I'd go to the city was Lafayette, and I got in. Excuse me, I lived in Lafayette for a while, but I got in some trouble as a young buck. And so my dad decided to move us out to the country, Indian Bayou being the country where we didn't really wear shoes and stuff like that. And when, I didn't spend much time in school, I would just kind of go back and forth between sleeping in Indian Bayou and then raising hell in Lafayette.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do you? I don't want to. I don't want to get too far into your personal business. I raised a bit of hell as a kid,
I'm an
but
open
mostly
book.
I rebelled by not going to prison. Um, uh, do you think that that energy was misspent because you weren't being creative, or were you being creative then when you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I really got into music really young. My parents were pretty young as well. My mom was a dancer, and she would dance to like Guns N' Roses and stuff like that, and Motley Crue and whatnot. My dad, is that loud? That saw?
No,
Okay.
well, I don't even hear it.
My dad was into punk and post punk stuff, and he played drums in a punk band, and so I just got I got a lot of music stuff from them, and then you know probably around 9 or 10 years old, I wanted to learn how to play guitar, and and my dad had guitars around the apartment and whatnot, and so I started playing his guitars, and then I got a lesson. I got a guitar lesson, and by that point, I was really, really into Nirvana. And
Sure.
so I went to a guitar lesson, and I had the guy show me how to play "In Bloom" by Nirvana, and that was it. I never went back. As soon as I learned how to play that, I never went back. I just started rewriting it. Like I took what I learned. The same thing happens now. Like a few years ago, I learned how to do some Johnny Marr guitar parts, and I started rewriting my own songs with those things that I've learned from playing his songs. But yeah, I had
Right.
one guitar lesson and a lot of punk power chords, and then from there on out, I learned how to play "Nevermind the Bollocks" by the Sex Pistols. I learned that record back to front, and
It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. I mean, it's still one of the greatest records of all time, in my opinion. But I mean, I think that I did still continue to get in a lot of trouble. Um, but I think learning how to play an instrument might have saved me from becoming a serial killer.
Sure.
You know, um, that might sound horrible, but
There's
whatever.
still time.
Yeah, there's still time. But yeah, it definitely saved my life for sure.
Yeah, I can relate to all that. I can relate to the all those vibes. Um, you said you went to school. Did you go to college after high school, or did you were talking about school like grammar school and high school?
Yeah, I didn't even really go to high school. I was
Got it.
16. I was 16 in the eighth grade, and
Right.
I just didn't care, dude.
Yeah.
I was just been obsessed with music since as far back as I can remember, and I was in a band and I was gigging on the weekends and just not really showing up for school, and that was it. I kind of learned the things that I needed to learn in the clubs, in the bars, and then being around my parents, they always had a pretty an eclectic cast of characters around them. So I learned a lot that way. Didn't really learn much in
Sure.
school. So I quit school in the eighth grade. I quit school. I didn't even go to high school. So
I question why I finished high school all the time. I feel like I could have got a lot of shit done if I didn't go to school.
I mean, a part of me wishes I would have stuck it out, but not enough to go back and get a GED or anything like that. Like I mean, maybe I had a couple of moments in my 30s where I was like, man, I should have, I could have, because I work, I just pick up random jobs whenever I can. I work in a bar most of the time, and
Sure.
I make enough money to pay my own way and whatnot. But I'm sure I maybe could have gotten a better job had I went to high school or graduated high school. I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't care enough to figure it out.
Right. Also, it's the past.
Yeah, yeah,
And be pretty weird if you showed up for your freshman year next year.
yeah. Now I
Um,
care.
yeah, I don't care. There are a lot of things that we're taught that we should care about, and you can't teach someone to care. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You either give a fuck or you don't.
yeah.
Um, what were your early bands like? Did they sound like Nirvana and Sex Pistols?
First band I was in was a punk band. Um, and then the rest was kind of just like metal. I once I kind of got bored with punk. I kind of just wanted to explore more musically, and learn how to play different songs on guitar and stuff. So, but after that, I did a lot of metal, a lot of metal bands and stuff. A lot of Motorhead influenced bands.
Rad.
And then like then the new metal thing came around. I got really into that.
Mm-hmm.
I was really into Deftones as a kid, and I still love Deftones. Was really into
I hear a
Korn.
little bit of that in your music, actually.
Yeah, it's part of the DNA. But yeah, and then I kind of got tired of. I was always in somebody else's band or a band I'd started with people that were into maybe one thing, and I kind of got tired of doing that and playing other people's songs and whatnot. So I just figured out how to do it on my own. Figured out how to write my own songs and play a couple different instruments, and that's
Did you tour with any of those bands? And also, you were in Louisiana, um, and now the EP came out on Housecore. Did you cross paths with Phil in Louisiana?
no, not at all. I used to go see Crowbar and I Hate God and Goat Whore a lot, and those bands like that, um, and I crossed paths with the Goat Whore guys a couple times, some of the Acid Bath people and whatnot, but
Yeah.
never at the level that I am at now. You know, um, it's weird because I used to have these reoccurring dreams as a kid where I would be at Phil's house. I'm probably like 14 or 15 years old having these same kinds of dreams where I'd be at Phil's house working on music and listening to he's got multiple side projects and stuff.
Right.
And then I would have all these dreams and they were always reoccurring where I'd be in his barn, working on music. And then, he cut to my adulthood and that kind of, we ended up getting signed by Phil. And yeah, it's kind of weird how life works like that.
Super weird.
Yeah.
I know Phil a little bit. I actually had a dream of being in his barn. He invited me to come out to his place, and I was like, it's not like in town.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a dream that I went, and he was like, "Here, play on this song," and
Yeah.
and it was like one of those dreams where you can't run or you can't punch someone hard enough or
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
I
it
can't
was
do
super
it.
disappointing. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
uh um uh being a so you said you were a member of like playing guitar in bands.
No,
When
I
did
always,
you
I always sang. I was always the
Oh, you
front.
did. Okay.
I was always the front man.
But it wasn't necessarily your own thing.
Right. Yeah. My main focus in those bands was just writing lyrics and vocal patterns and melodies and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when you started doing your own thing, was that Spirit in the Room?
Yeah. Yeah, I started. It was called something else. I forgot what it was called. I think it was called. I think it was called Indian Giver.
All right.
I think it was something like that, and then it went through a couple different names. But in 2009, I settled on the name Spirit in the Room, and I just started. I've just been doing that ever since. But that was, like I write everything. I write a lot of things on bass. And the bass guitar is probably my favorite instrument. It's very rare that I'll pick up a guitar and write a song on a guitar. But most of the songs will start from a drum beat or some sort of rhythm. And so yeah, I wanted to initially do something that was really bass driven and very beat eccentric, and it's still like that to this day. So
For people who listen to this and go check out your music for the first time, I think that it won't be shocking to hear that the bass is really prominent. The bass tones on the recordings are always, you know, it seems like there's a lot of care given to them, and they have a lot of they grind in the way that I want to hear the bass grind.
thanks, man.
Um,
Yeah, yeah,
there's also like a pretty generous use of synth bass, and I like
yeah,
the combination of both of them.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that's definitely something I'm really into.
Did you play bass in bands before, or that was just something that happened when you started doing the laptop thing?
No, I'd always my dad listened to a lot of post punk stuff, and I was a big Jesus Lizard fan as a kid, still am to this day.
Oh,
But the bass didn't really, I didn't really start getting focused on bass until I started playing in a band called Blacklight Burns, which was Wes Borland's band. I used to tech for him, and something had happened with his bass player at the time, and then I stepped in and I became obsessed with the bass. I remember he had told me we had a show, like a fly date coming up, like a festival show coming up, and I had to like learn 10 songs really fast, and I could swear it feels like since then I haven't stopped playing the bass, but I play it like a guitar, like Lemmy or something like that. But yeah, I have to credit Wes a lot for putting a bass in my hand and all of that. But my interest in bass driven music began way before that, but I didn't start riffing on a bass until I did the
right.
Blacklight Burn thing.
The I feel like the bass moves similarly in like there's something it might I think that people who are fans of Deftones and Jesus Lizard, it doesn't feel like a huge jump to me. Like they could be on a bill together and it wouldn't feel weird.
Yeah, I think that's a great compliment for Deftones as well, considering the genre that they come from. Like they can open for The Cure or vice versa, jump on a bill with Jesus Lizard, whereas some of the other bands, their peers, might be out of place. Who
Sure.
knows? I don't know, but it's all really heavy. It's really heavy stuff to me.
I think the moodiness of it,
Yeah,
the like the content subjects, it's like it's pretty dark stuff
yeah,
that works with the Cure.
for sure. I mean, I think a lot of people have The Cure, whether they like The Cure or not. They're obviously definitely influenced by somebody that was influenced by The Cure. I mean, they're one of the greatest bands of all time.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm usually pretty surprised if I hear like recently someone said I hate the Cure. I was like, huh,
Yeah.
really?
Do they hate, like I hate tacos? It's like
Right.
when I hear someone I hate say, if I ever heard someone say I hate The Cure, I'd be like, well, do you like tacos? Like everybody, like that's weird.
You like water?
Yeah. Do you like water? Do you, I, you know, to each their own. But The Cure is
Sure.
just, they're in everything.
Agreed. I don't think I got it completely as a kid until I took psychedelics and listened to it like in ninth grade or whatever.
Right
eighth,
on.
ninth grade. Um, so what year did you move to LA, and what prompted that?
I moved to the Bay Area in 2009, and it was basically because I was in Blacklight Burns, and we would finish a tour, and I'd go back to Louisiana and twiddle my thumbs because it's a different pace down there, and it's way more. It's a smaller scene, and it is very
Sure,
incestuous, but there's not a lot to do besides hanging out with your buddies and getting drunk and high and driving. You're driving around in a circle, some part of downtown or whatever. And so I
sure.
just, after tours with Wes, I would go back home, and then I don't know. I just decided to get out of there, and I moved to the Bay Area. I had a girlfriend at the time, and I just relocated to the Bay Area until about 2012. Then I moved out to LA.
Were you in Oakland? The Bay Area is always very ambiguous.
Yeah, I was in Oakland, um, Berkeley.
Yeah,
I lived in a couple different places down there, but
it's pretty easy to do there with the rent prices. Jesus fucking
dude,
Christ.
yeah, that was fun, man. There's a lot of really great death metal. I love death metal, and there's a lot of really great hardcore and death metal bands, and it's cool as fuck down there, man. I like that place a lot. Still, a lot of my favorite restaurants and places to eat are in the Bay Area.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah,
Um, I was born in Concord, and before I moved to rural Washington. But one year of junior high school, I was back in Pleasant Hill, and in Concord, which is it's all right there.
yeah,
There's a radio station that the high school runs called KVHS.
hmm
As Clayton Valley High School. And when I was a kid, all the kids that took the like broadcasting class were metalheads, and so that's how I found every like Possessed, Slayer, Venom, Death Angel,
yeah,
Exodus. I mean everything. Metallica.
yeah.
Ride the Lightning was brand new. It's like
Nice. Yeah,
so. Yeah, metal is a huge part of that part of the country.
yeah. My dad had a lot of mixtapes, and there was definitely some of the Garage Days stuff on his mixtapes. But he would
Oh
have
yeah,
like there would be like Metallica's version. I remember the first time I heard The Weight was Metallica's version, and then after that there would be this Corrosion by Sisters of Mercy or something on there. So
right.
I loved my dad's tape collection, man. But yeah, Possessed, back to the Bay Area. So many great fucking metal bands, dude. Yeah.
And so you really relocated to the Bay Area because you were essentially like kind of, I guess, bored with, not to talk poorly of home, but you were a little bored.
Very bored. Yeah. Very, very bored and just getting tired of getting fucked up all the time and the same conversations. And I don't want to shit on my place too much, but it's just like a lot of the same old that I kind of just got tired of, and even the food, like everyone, when they find out where I'm from, like they talk to me about the food, and I'm like, yeah, trust me, there's a lot of great food there. Cajun food and soul food in general. It's just amazing stuff. But
Yeah.
when I moved out west, I mean, I tried Mediterranean food for the first time. I tried Indian food. I tried so many different things, and it was just a whole new world for me, from music to people and food and everything. And so it's just exactly where I wanted to be. And I still want to be where I'm at. I'm still happy here 14 years later. I'm still happy in California.
Right. How big is the town where you were living?
Well, I mean, like I said, I'd lived in my dad's house. I moved around a lot, man. Me and my dad we lived in a couple warehouses that were my dad was a motorcycle mechanic,
Hmm.
very badass. My dad's just an awesome. talent, just a great hard worker. My dad, he would learn how to do anything and then master it within a month, you know. But I
Right.
lived in a couple warehouses out in the country that my dad ran as motorcycle shops, and it was really small, very small. And then Lafayette was the city where you'd go see punk shows and whatnot, and that was a small place as well. So yeah, to answer your question, it's pretty small.
Small.
Small, yeah.
Well, I mean, you were even being an adult. You what, in your 20s, mid 20s when you moved?
Yeah,
Guessing.
I was 24 when I moved
All
out
right.
here. Yeah, 24 or 25.
Still exciting. And
Yeah,
24 is fucking young. I'm
yeah, man, it's weird. It's a weird age, especially nowadays. 24-year-olds these days talk about things that I never would imagine speaking of when I was 24. You know, you hang out with 24-year-olds today, and they're talking about boundaries and fucking. There's this level of awareness that we just didn't have when I was a kid. I'm sure you could say the
buddy.
same. It's just like okay, I get it.
Yeah. Um yeah, for sure. For sure. You've mentioned getting fucked up a few times. I'm a sober guy.
Same,
Um, is that right?
same now. Yeah. I don't smoke, drink. I mean, I smoke cigarettes, but my thing is gummy bears and food. No, I spent so long. I started getting wasted when I was a little kid.
Sure.
So, you know, I learned a lot of what not to do and what to do as at that time. But yeah, I'm a sober dude. I just was at a meeting right before we began this. I do the
Oh, good for you.
meetings, the whole nine. You know, I keep my side of the street clean as much as possible.
It's important to do. Yeah, everything I ever did, for the first time, except for a couple of psychedelic experiences, I did with family members. So, like, I smoked crack with my dad when I was 16.
Yeah, dude.
Did crank with my uncles when I was in the ninth grade. Did
Yeah,
coke in the eighth grade. I was already smoking weed regularly, drinking
yeah. Same
by
here.
myself after school. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a pretty weird way to grow up. I wouldn't take it back.
No, hell no, man. I wouldn't either. I mean, my parents thought it was cute to see the little boy running around with a beer, you know, with a buzz, see what I would do. But I mean, when I was about 10 years old, it started to get pretty bad. I got busted huffing Freon out of an air conditioner unit. I got my dad and I evicted from our apartment complex. So I started fucking up pretty badly with stuff like that. And you know, I think I just felt like an outsider and it was always around. And I got separated from my sister at a young age, and that was really depressing for me. I was so stoked to find out I'd be a big brother.
Right.
And then I remember whenever I got separated from my sister, she was in Chicago and I had to move down to Louisiana. And, you know, 9 or 10 years old, I was drinking a glass of wine, I was sneaking glasses of wine just to go to bed at night, you know, just because I couldn't sleep. And it was just interesting to me. You know, I wanted to grow up really fast. And I kind of thought that was how you did it, you know?
I thought for sure I was the only person who'd ever fucking huffed Freon that I
Oh,
knew,
dude.
but
Yeah, that was pretty bad. That was like my first
did you
alcohol.
ever
Yeah,
hallucinate?
big time. Wah wah wah
It
wah.
is a fucking wild trip.
Yeah,
Like, I would hallucinate when I huffed Freon.
yeah. I mean, I passed out. I passed out behind a Freon tank, and I remember getting tapped on the shoulder, and it was the apartment complex maintenance man. You know, and the next thing you know, he's bringing me to the front office, and they're calling my dad, and my dad had to leave work to come deal with his fucked up kid, and
Right.
I was stealing pills, and pot was a regular thing. You know, everybody smoked pot. We'd go to like I'd go to my dad's friend's house, and I was friends with his kids, and I'd go over there, and when the parents would go to bed, we'd sneak their weed, and I was just
Sure.
a little fucking kid, you know, and I like you said, I wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't take it back at all. But I'm glad that I made it out of it, you know.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because when I look back, when I see kids that are 16 right now, I see children. I felt very much like an adult when I was 16 and I was doing adult shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Like adult shit.
Yeah.
And uh when I see kids 15, 16 years old, they look like babies.
Hmm.
What do you see when you see young people?
I see the same thing. I see children growing up too fast. I see, you know, like I didn't have social media. I didn't have the internet or anything like that, but I was
Thank
surrounded
God.
by, yeah, I'm always grateful for that. I'm grateful that I remember standing in line to buy records when they came out on day one and, you know, saving stuff like that. But I see kids nowadays that are learning a lot on the internet, and it's just kind of ruining their lives, you know, like porn, like choke me porn is just a click away, you know, and like these kids are
Right.
seeing this and then they don't even they don't really know about the other side of that. They just see
Right.
it's all in their face, you know, and it's horrifying. It's terrible. I hate it.
Well, things that are on screen are like maybe not glamorous, but they're glamorized or sensationalized,
Yeah, definitely.
and you're certainly desensitized. There's also, like whatever my wife would call it, torture porn. It's not porn per se, but like Saw type movies or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't like that shit makes my toenails hurt. I
Yeah,
can't watch
man.
it.
I'm I feel like I feel like a prude sometimes, you know. But I've also been there, done that. So
Sure.
it just seems so far away to me, you know. Like I remember being a kid and you know, like some weird things happened to me as a child. So I like sex and all that was just it was in my face and it was I don't know, it was just what you did as a kid, but it was what the adults were doing and that just wasn't there's something very off balance about it. And now looking back and see, you know, I see kids in these meetings all the time getting sober and we I didn't know what the 12 step program was in my early 20s or my teens, you know, and anything like that and I don't know, man. It's a trip. It's depressing, but it's also like relieving at the same time. Because I'm grateful to be out of that. You know, I'm grateful to have survived all of that. You know,
Sure.
I hope the same for the youth of today. You know, I hope they can survive this shit.
Thankfully, there's still some real darkness in your music. How, I mean, I know that a lot of recovery and what not necessarily recovery, but the work that comes sort of in parallel with recovery um, is pretty light. At least a lot of it feels very light. I know some dark motherfuckers who are sober, but you know, I spend a lot of my time in my recovery being really happy and grateful and having all these fucking, introspective moments. How do how do you channel that? Do you channel that through past experience? Do you channel that just as like a storytelling, sort of like a or more of a cinematic type storytelling process?
Yeah,
Um,
it's darkness is definitely my music and the artwork. The art in general for me is a safe place for that. You know, I can get those demons out of me through a song, you know, or something like that. And it definitely resides there. I mean, I'm not the I'm not fucking Mary Poppins, like I still, I do realize that I'm addicted to suffering in a way. I'm addicted to
Sure.
self-sabotage and whatnot, and these are new. This is a kind of a new realization for me that I'm trying to now work through and learn how to deal with in a better way. But definitely within my music, it is a safe space for uh, for that thought process and those experiences to reside.
When you're writing, does does the music come first, or does the story?
Definitely the music, but I like to write a lot of poetry. I just like to write a lot. I carry a notebook around and I'm always in my notes on my phone, and I write a
Hmm.
lot of things that I hear people say down and stuff like that. But it always starts from the drums, the rhythm,
Yeah.
and then I'm able to tell the story over that. But a lot of times that without that stuff, the stories don't make much sense, or they're not as cohesive. So definitely the music. It definitely provides the inspiration for that stuff to come out.
The EP is um I saw the accompanying sort of mini film. What would you call it? The long
Yeah,
form video?
yeah. I guess you could call it a film. That yeah, sure.
Uh so uh, did you intend for as was there an overarching concept with the music and that piece of film work to happen? Like, was the intention to create that from the onset?
I no, actually, I started working with for that for that body of work, whatever you want to call it, whatever I want to call it, whatever it is. I started working with Joe Cardamone, who's known for the Icarus line and stuff like that. And I just kind of I gave him a couple of references and words, and then he wrote it all from there. He took it and ran with it. But I did tell him, like there was a couple films that I was really into, and then I still dig a lot that I referenced to him, and basically revenge is what we came up with, and he took it and ran with it.
What are your favorite revenge films?
Um, Irreversible.
I don't know
Um,
that one.
you Were Never Really Here, which was a big reference. Irreversible and You Were Never Really Here were big references to that for me. And then the artwork for the EP is my favorite artist name. His name's George Wallacall, and I gave him a couple color schemes that I liked and stuff like that. But he's got it's very digital and it's very like minimal. And I
Mhm.
like stuff like that. I like minimal. I haven't heard the new Arctic Monkeys record, but I saw the album cover and I thought that it was just brilliant. It's just like a picture of a car in an empty parking lot from above, and I was just like, God, that's fucking. I have a I have an imagination from hell, and so I can just imagine so much to so little, and a lot of the songs come from so little too. But yeah. So back to the film thing. Irreversible is a really fucked up film. Um, You Were Never Really Here. There's a movie called The Treatment. Um, I know I'm blanking on some great revenge films, but yeah, I
You know
guess
what's
revenge.
crazy?
Good.
I sat down with my wife to watch The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou last night. You know this film, yeah?
Yeah, yeah,
It's a fucking revenge film.
right.
I mean, it's a very cute revenge film,
Yeah,
but it's a revenge film with a pretty redeeming ending on it, right?
yeah. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm very familiar with the guy's work. Yeah,
It kind of surprised me because he's having a press meeting, and he says, someone asks him, they show his film, this fucking sea beast eats his friend, chews him up and eats him, and he's like, I'm going to hunt this thing down and I'm going to kill it.
Yeah.
And they're like, what is the scientific purpose of killing it? And he said, revenge.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is a whole new twist.
Yeah.
It's funny that, whatever. Sorry to side rail us.
No, dude.
That
No.
was just like, this is a revenge film.
I actually want to rewatch that now that you brought it up.
I think it's my favorite of all of his films.
Right.
For sure.
Hey, did he do the Royal Tenenbaums as well?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Come on. Come here. My other dog. Come on. Thinks she's a lap dog. Come on, Rosie. Yes. That's Ramblin' Rose. Oh, look at the kitty.
Good old D. Can you see him? Can you see him in there?
I can.
Old D. Spaghetti.
He's photobombing. So the video, I guess I called it a mini film because there are multiple songs in it.
Yeah, that was all Joe's idea to include.
That's great.
Yeah, yeah.
It also is part 1. Is that is part 2 in the works, or is that conceptual and you'll get to it?
It's conceptual and I'll get to it. When they're like, shit's expensive to make,
Yeah.
So when there's more of a budget, we'll get to part 2.
Have you been, I know that came out last summer.
Right.
Like I said, I've probably listened to the EP 100 times. Have you been working on a full length or another EP? And do you care about full lengths?
No, I don't care about full lengths. Not at all. I listen to the full lengths that I've always listened to, but as far as making one, I'm not really interested. I would like to make more EPs, and I've got enough to do 2 full lengths, to be honest, without trying to sound like cocky or whatever. But I've got a lot of music in the pipe, but it's all kind of all over the place, I just recently wrote a new song about a week ago, and it's pretty fucking heavy. And then the couple songs I wrote before that were pretty like Ramones inspired, like once it all makes a little bit more sense, standing shoulder to shoulder, I'll whittle it down and figure out which 5 or 6 songs are going to go together. But
sure,
there's a lot of new music for sure. We just did a live EP that we're going to put out soon.
Killer.
Yeah, we did a Ruts cover. I don't want to give too much away. Maybe people don't care, but we like doing covers too. We like having fun with covers. I think it's important to break away from your own shit every now and again and jam on somebody else's. It re-energizes us as a group. But there's definitely a lot of stuff in the pipe.
Nice. Let me ask you this. You've sequenced full-length albums before.
Right, yeah.
I think there's a real art to it.
Totally. That's the best part of it for me is the sequence of it,
yeah. Did you find it to be like a greater pressure to sequence the flow of an EP?
No, I had my own flow of it. And then, the longer I've done this, the more I've kind of learned to let go of certain things and allow outside influences. And Manny, the recording engineer / producer, he had suggested a different sequence, and I loved his sequence, so I just said, "Fuck it, we'll do it like that." But I love that, man. One of my favorite parts of creating bodies of musical work is which track is going to come next, and which stuff like that. But every time I've done that, dude, it gets broken up into singles or EPs, to fit budgets, or to fit attention spans, and budgets are a bitch,
Yeah, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, they are. Um, I mean, EP is one of my favorite formats. It always felt like it felt like a special release in the 80s and 90s to me. You
absolutely.
know, it was
And
like,
that's when they were really great too. A
oh
lot of EPs were
man.
so good, and B sides and fucking soundtrack songs and whatnot. Man, soundtracks used to be so fucking great.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter in the context of a film, right? But nobody's releasing a soundtrack compact disc in
Right, right.
2023.
But I mean more along the lines of like the Crow soundtrack. I was actually soundtracks, where bands took recorded a cover or B side or whatever for it,
Yeah.
as opposed to like a score, which is one gigantic piece chopped up for scenery and whatnot. And I remember like um I can't they're drawing blanks right now, but the first two Crow soundtracks were so fucking rad. And I mean, even the Big Lebowski soundtrack is amazing. Recently, it's not a soundtrack, but the score to the remake of Suspiria, Tom York's score for that is fucking incredible. I listen to a lot of score. I have a lot of score on vinyl, but that shit's fun. Putting all that stuff
Yeah.
together, and it's really fucking fun. It's a shame that it gets chopped up the way it does now.
Well, one thing that you can be sure of that nothing's gonna stay the same ever.
No, yeah, I agree.
You mentioned that I got the impression that when Manny suggested a different running order for the different sequence for the songs on the EP, that 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 was something that in the past you wouldn't have maybe gone for. Did I pick that up?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it takes a long time for it took a long. I don't want to speak for other artists and stuff, even though I've experienced it with other artists. When my friends recording their records and they have a hard time taking a suggestion from the producer or whatever. But it took a long time for me to learn how to kind of let go of things like that and kind of step aside out of my own way. That being said, I definitely have a way that I like things to be done. I like to produce my own work, but this Flamingo EP was the first time I'd ever had my live band track with me. And all of the demos were basically what you hear now. It's just like Manny, he contributed a guitar solo to the end of The Bird of Paradise alights only upon the hand that does not grasp. I have to say that whole title every time. And then Kevin provided the guitar solo for the bridge of If You Must. And I mean, before I kind of was always just kind of shut down and closed off from any of that kind of stuff. And, sometimes it's really great to get out of your own way and see what other people can bring to the table, you know?
One of the one of the coolest things I've picked up from friends. I have this friend Scott. He's in LA actually, and his email tag says everything works if you let it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It works if you work it. It squirts if you jerk it.
You better hope so. At least for now.
Yeah. But
Um,
in all seriousness, yeah, what you're saying, I couldn't agree with more with Scott.
yeah. Um, other than so, did Manny mix the record as well?
Yeah, yeah. Manny mixed it, he engineered it, and gave a lot of suggestions, added a lot of weird. We did a lot. Like I said earlier, I'm really into percussive elements of music. A lot of my songs come from the percussion and stuff like that. And like, so we did a lot of weird, a lot of just, it was kind of like a playground for Manny because I brought him all of these full compositions. Everything was basically done. I had everything mixed in the demos the way I wanted him to mix it, like with panning and whatnot and automation and stuff like that. And then he just kind of had this room to step outside of that and be a musician. I think Manny played on like 3 or 4 of the songs, played guitar
Oh wow.
parts and stuff like that on it, like just adding like a downstroke, like a chug on parts where the snare would hit or the kick would hit and stuff like that. And yeah, he did a lot. He helped with the sonics on this a lot. And I can't wait to do the next one with him. Like I'm a firm believer in finding what works for you and just working it, and Manny,
Sure.
he's made some of my favorite records, and I love his band, and I I can't wait to do the next. I can't wait to hear what he brings out of the next batch.
I don't know Manny. What is his band and what records has he worked on?
His band is called the Chavez Ravine.
Uh-huh.
Really fucking heavy, but moody and melodic stuff. He's a guitar. He can fucking rip on the guitar, man. He's the dude that sits in his room. Ow, Dennis. He's the guy that sits in his room and learns like a Randy Rhoads or a Van Halen solo from
Right.
top to bottom, and he'll even go find the gear that Eddie Van Halen used to get the sounds, and he'll reproduce that. He's a total guitar hero guy. But he did a record by a band called Vaz that I really like. I forgot the name of the Breeders record he did. He did an Icarus Line record as well. I'm not familiar. I can't remember the names of these records, but that Vaz record I think is called Dying to Meet You. That's a really fucking Vaz sounds like a band that is playing inside of a Freon tank.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, they're really. It's like Joy Division kind of vocals with just weird sonics, man. Weird drums, weird guitar tones, and Manny is the man when it comes to that stuff. He can
All
make
right.
he can make something sound great. He can make something sound that sounds really good, and he can make it sound great and heavier. And yeah, like all the other records I've put out, I did by myself. I engineered them and did everything in like a garage or a bedroom wherever I had been staying at the time. And I won't be doing them like that anymore. I'm gonna take my work straight to Manny from here on out.
I can hear the relief in your voice now, but how much of this coincided with getting sober? Just out of curiosity, like allowing uh, other people to do things for you and do things with your creations.
Actually, none of it had anything to do with getting sober. Um,
Oh,
I just think I got. I don't know. That's a hard question for me to answer, but I just I trust more people now than I did then, and being sober is still new to me,
mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I always I have to be a fan of what somebody's doing before I let them put their fingerprints on what I'm doing.
Sure.
And like putting a band together is a nightmare when it comes to that kind of thing because I didn't know, like Kevin, for example, I wasn't familiar with any of his previous bands, and I had no idea what I was getting into when I met Kevin. I met him. I think I met him. I found him on Craigslist, and then we had a coffee date. And I remember first time seeing him in person, meeting up with him. It's like this guy's obviously been around the block, and he's a little over the block. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember sitting down, and I'm like, this guy looks over it already. And but that was 3 years ago, and we're still playing together, and
Right.
he's a bigger cheerleader for Spirit in the Room than I am most of the time. But going back to what I initially started saying, like it helps for me to really like what somebody else has done, and I think Chino from Deftones had a lot to do with that for me because I always trusted his work, and I would send him or play him demos of stuff that I was working on, and he would give me this insight that I really trusted and valued. So I just kind of started listening, you know. I started to really listen to people more, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, respecting what someone else creates uh, nurtures trust, whether or not
Definitely.
they have a good opinion or not.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
yeah.
Um, what are your plans to tour? Do you have plans for tour?
We need to get an agent, man. I've been
Yeah,
doing all that shit between creating the music and the imagery and putting the band together and keeping people together and booking the shows and all this shit. I did that shit for so long. I kind of got this is one or the other at this point, you know.
right.
I got really tired of doing all of it, and I just kind of wanted to focus on making and writing better songs. So that's kind of where my focus is, you know. Like I would like to get some help in that other department, you know. Kevin helps out quite a bit, and it's great having guys like that around, you know, because they want to play and do it just as much as I do, and they understand that, you know, I'm not necessarily out kissing babies and shaking hands and making connections and watering those connections. You know, I've met a lot of people throughout the years that could have probably helped me, but I didn't keep an engagement going with them. You know, I didn't, I'm just I've kind of always been a loner and a recluse. And I like to write songs and I like to be on my own, you know? And so Kevin understands that, you know, I'm not necessarily out making connections. I'm in the studio or in my room writing the next record or whatever. So that kind of thing really helps, and it's a much needed thing because I'm a little bored with, you know, hey, so and so from Spirit in the Room, wonder if we could play your club or whatever like that. I know it's a part of it. And
Sure.
I don't want to sound like a lazy or anything like that, but you know,
It's a little demeaning, honestly.
yeah, man, it's not, I don't want to give that, I don't want to like give that part of myself away that much anymore, you know? I'm really fucking fragile, especially sober, you know? Like I'm really fucking fragile. I'm a human being just like everybody else, you know? And you're either a really good businessman or a really good artist. And I tend to focus more on the artistry than anything else. So that's
Sure.
more important to me than making connections and being like, kissing somebody's ass that I don't even necessarily know. It's just an energy thing that I don't have. You know, I get my energy drained very easily. But we do want to play, man, and we want to do stuff. We spend more time playing music together. And like me and the band are really close. These are my best friends. You know, they're not just my live band at this point. These are my brothers. It's the first time
Right.
I really had that as well. You know, and we're a band. We're a band and we're a gang, and that's kind of where we're at. We're not really like this outside entity. You know, I did that for a long time. I know that you have to keep doing that in order to remain relevant, and people don't want to book you if they don't see you're not doing things already. And we played one show. We played one show since I got sober. The live thing was a whole new experience sober. And so we were playing quite a bit, and then I started to really needed to get. I really needed to get my head together. And
Yeah.
once I started to get my head together, I was able to hone in on the craft more as opposed to the performance, you know, and whatnot. And
What was that show like for you?
oh, it was amazing, dude. It was fucking like, it was like, okay, wow, I still really love to do this. I don't need a drink. I don't need a buzz. I don't need an ego. Like, dude, I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful
The
that I,
incredible thing to me is that we spend a lot of time telling ourselves a lot of lies in order to justify certain things. And one of those lies is that I need this to loosen up and be prepared to do whatever, right?
yeah,
But you're feeling Like your feeling and your experience is muted. It's not heightened.
No, man. It's like cellophane wrapped over your soul.
It's like wearing a condom on stage.
Yeah. I was just going to say that too. Yeah, I don't put a condom on before I go out and play. I don't want to.
um,
I'm grateful for that. We played in a brewery of all things where they
right.
treat us, yeah, they treat us really well and everybody gets free drinks and whatnot. And side note, I don't think I'd be able to do this if my right hand man, being Kevin, wasn't sober either. You know, and the guys in my band, they don't party. You know, my drummer's a
Yeah.
family man. My bass player is a hardworking dude. He does Muay Thai. You know, and he's got a solid relationship. He focuses on music and work in his relationship. And
Yeah.
basically, I was the last guy to jump on board with getting my shit together because I was the guy out getting in bar fights and causing hell, raising hell, whatever. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have that stability around me, for sure.
Are you 40 yet?
No, I'm 38.
Getting in bar fights at 38 is still a bad look.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of cute when you're 23.
Dude, me and my dad used to go out and raise hell. Me and my dad would go out, and my dad was my partying buddy for a long time. My dad's straight now. He's got his shit together. He's sober.
Yeah.
My dad always had his shit together, but he's a fucking cowboy, you know. But I mean, there were times where me and my dad would go out and get in a bar fight, and my dad would be like holding people back while I'm throwing down with somebody and catching chairs from hitting me and shit like that. And you know, that was one thing in my 20s, but I carried
Right.
on. I carried on through most of my 30s as well, and I don't. I didn't like myself anymore. I still struggle with liking myself at today, you know, but it's a lot
Sure.
easier to like myself without all the additives, you know. I
Did you
surround
think you'd
myself.
live this long?
No, fuck no. I thought I would be out of here before 27. I mean, there was a couple times where I was almost a goner, and
Sure.
I mean, it took me waking up at 3 in the morning with chest pains at 38 years old to get my shit together, you know. And it's
Right.
not easy, you know. Like I don't have a hard time not drinking and partying and stuff, but it's not easy to be my own best friend, you know. And that's what you're supposed to do. You got to treat yourself with respect, and you have to treat yourself the way you would treat your best friend if your best friend was going down and having hard times. You know, you have to talk to yourself and be kind to yourself. And man, it was hard for me to learn how to be kind to myself, and it still is to this day. And sometimes I even question what that even means, you know. And it doesn't necessarily always mean go out and buy yourself a new pair of boots or whatever, you know. It sometimes means doing something that you don't want to do, like go to the DMV or, you know, shit like that. Like be kind to yourself, man, you know, put yourself first.
I think, especially when you're in the thick of it, we spend a lot of time making fun of self care.
Oh, yeah.
I spend a lot of time,
Especially as a
you know,
dude, especially as men,
pointing.
you know,
Oh, dude.
we're
Pointing my
not
finger at it,
supposed to do that.
laughing, you know,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, you pussies. But, you know, my dad died at 52 and his dad died at 52, and I'm fucking 51.
Holy shit, man.
So I'm
I'm
not
sorry.
trying to die next year.
Yeah, man. I'm sorry to hear that too, man. I don't
Oh,
know
it's
where.
okay. It's fine. I just want to hit 53. I'm just trying to be the success story.
Yeah, my parents mean a lot to me, man. I'm so grateful to still have them in my life.
Yeah.
I choose to have them in my life. You know, it wasn't always very pleasant, you know, but my dad is my best friend. He's my hero. You know, he's
Has your
the
dad been
cool.
out to LA to see you? What does
Oh
he think?
yeah.
What does he make of LA?
Oh, you know, he hates it. He hates it,
Yeah.
man. The last time my dad was in LA, I think was in 2015, and he and I were both pretty heavily inebriated, and we got into pretty intense screaming match at the Chateau Marmont. Is yeah,
Your dad didn't. He didn't have a room there.
no, we were
Yeah.
doing an industry dinner for a holiday party, and
Right.
yeah, we got into it pretty heavy there. But I mean, he raised me. My dad raised me by himself. With the help of some of his other diving buddies. My dad was a deep sea diver for a long time, so when my dad would go offshore, one of his buddies who was on land, was off the job, would take over for me while my dad went offshore for a while. And so, like, he didn't have much help, man, and he didn't know how to do it, but he did it the best he could, and I couldn't be more grateful. I'm really
What a
proud.
um. What a man. What a like old. He like I imagine him looking like the Marlboro Man, but probably with like a hand tattoo.
Oh, my dad's got yeah, he's got gears tattooed on his hands, and my mom
Right.
has
Of
like
course he does.
my mom has vampire teeth with blood trickling down tattooed on her neck, and like I got my first tattoo when I was 13.
So the mixtape with Sisters of Mercy was for your mom.
No, man, my mom, you know, my dad was always more of an artist. My mom was always more of like a partier, more of like holding court. I saw my mom
Yeah.
kick a lot of dudes' asses, but yeah, she was really way more into like Guns N' Roses and Warrant, stuff like that.
Uh-huh. Got it. Yeah. My mom had a hand tattoo also. Actually, I have when my mom passed, me and my sisters all got uh a heart right here on our thumb because my mom had a little heart tattoo right there. So it was a little tribute
That's
tattoo.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool as fuck, man. My mom has a little pink teardrop. My little sister passed, and she got a little pink teardrop tattooed on her face, and she wanted me to do the same thing, but I have my own tribute tattoo to my sister elsewhere. I didn't want to put it on my face. I'm not really a face tattoo guy.
I don't think I am either. I think I'm too old.
Yeah, I said that to somebody the other day. I was like, yeah, I'm way too old for face tattoos. And they were like, "You're too old or too young? I don't understand that." And I'm like, I don't really understand it either. I'm just glad I didn't get a face tattoo.
Right. If you if you died tomorrow, would you be pleased with the way things played out for you?
No, no, because there's still a lot more I want to do. I really want to do a lot more things pertaining to art. I'd like to have a family someday. There's a lot more I want out of life. So if I died tomorrow, I'd be like, fuck. You know?
Don't you think you'll always want there'll always be more to do as long as you're breathing?
Yeah, yeah. I guess there's shit the shit that I'm referring to is shit that I should have did yesterday or got started
Right.
on yesterday. Like I really like to start doing acoustic sets. I play a lot of acoustic stuff by myself, and I like to paint. I would like to do more painting and stuff like that. So it's all stuff that it's not hard to obtain stuff. I'm pretty, I guess when you put it like that, I do feel a little bit better.
Yeah, the way I see it is like fuck. That I'm always going to have some fucking stupid thing in the back of my mind like I want to do this stupid thing. They're always stupid ideas. You know, some of them I follow through on, some of them I don't, but I don't imagine that's ever going to go away.
Yeah,
I see my uncles and they're in their 70s and they're doing the same shit.
yeah.
Some fucking harebrained scheme.
I've heard a lot of people my age say that they could die tomorrow and be happy because they have achieved their goals and dreams. And I'm like, damn, dude, the ceiling's pretty low, you know?
That's what I think. I
Yeah,
don't know. I mean, I guess it just depends on what your dreams are.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were a kid living in a motorcycle shop, your dream probably was copping a joint from one of the grown-ups and maybe being in a band.
My dream was to make my own records and play with some of the people that I had on my walls. And I actually have done that.
Right.
Yeah. And cop a joint, you know.
Yeah. I never, thank God my goal was never to get rich because I don't really foresee that happening for me.
Yeah.
Um,
Music is too expensive to be rich.
it's also, it's a tough gig. It's a tough gig.
Yeah.
Um, but same, like I've done all the stuff, played with plenty of folks
I've done
that
a lot more than people that I grew up with have done, and I guess there's a part of me that's really grateful for that, but I also feel bad. I guess I feel bad for my peers because I know they're capable of doing much more.
but they have to want to, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think a lot of them wanted it bad enough, so that's why a lot of them are still in Louisiana, asking me what it's like out here 14 years later. You know,
And life is a series of choices.
totally.
How do you want to? I mean, I don't know why I'm asking you about fucking death. A lot of people are dying lately. Also, maybe I don't know if it's a symptom of getting older. I don't know if it's a symptom of fucking. I don't even want to get into it, but um, for sure we're all gonna die. That's one thing that's guaranteed. Do you give a shit about what people think about you? I kind of don't.
No, I don't really care. I'm glad that I can leave behind some music. And I don't
Yeah,
believe that we die. I just believe it's a different translation of energy. It just turns into something else. And I'm grateful that I have music to leave behind, you know? So thinking back to when you asked me that if I'd be happy if I died tomorrow, I guess there's a lot more I'd be happy about now that I think about it like that.
right.
Yeah. I don't care if people remember me and as I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care what people think to an extent, you know, about what I'm doing with my time or anything like that, or what I've done with my time and whatnot. I mean, my parents are proud of me, and that means more to me than what anybody else thinks, you know.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. What what are the challenges to being creative in Los Angeles that are unique to being creative in Los Angeles in your mind?
The challenges, first thing that comes to mind is just keeping up with the inspiration because there's so much inspiration out here, you know. I know a lot of my friends are really talented people and have a lot of great ideas. I don't really hang out with people that I don't talk about ideas with, you know. And so keeping up with all these ideas and all these goals and you know stuff like that is a challenge, you know. But also like the frustrations of it are you know you're dealing with a lot of people with money, you know, or a lot of different types of privilege, a lot of nepotism, you know, and that stuff's pretty challenging and frustrating, you know.
Right.
But I'm constantly I'm surrounded by inspiration. I have some really great friends and a really creative people that I've met, especially with you know in sobriety and in the program. You know, like it's through the roof the amount of talent and just the will to continue on and execute all these ideas. You know,
It's pretty exciting to look around a room and see people people that you recognize and know, and who you know are operating at a high level, and you're like, oh wow, okay, this it's encouraging for creative people because it's like, oh, this is totally doable.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. I didn't get that much inspiration. My inspiration back home in Louisiana was just to get the fuck out, you know. Now
Right.
it's now my inspiration is to get involved, to get in, you know, and get through. And yeah, I fucking love it.
There's a difference between like positive inspiration and negative inspiration. Like
Totally.
like running away from negative or running toward the attraction of positivity.
Yeah.
So this is so fucking grown up. It's making me sick.
But I did. I mean, right before our interview, I devoured a bag of sour gummy worms. It's not a.
It's
That's
pretty like the sweet tooth thing is pretty tough. Careful.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm probably fucking borderline diabetic. I'm about I think I got to get back on my spinach smoothie shit because every time I'm getting ready for a tour, I'm like, all right, I can't eat sugar. No more sugar for you, kid.
God, dude, that's my number one. But it's always
Wow.
been my number one. But you
Is
know,
that right?
yeah. I mean, I've always. I mean, for dinner, getting raised with my dad, you know, I'd have fucking Apple Jacks for dinner, you know, if I wanted, you
Yeah,
know.
of course.
But
Oh,
yeah.
hi, kitty. Look, big. Look
Who's
at the
that?
kitty.
Who's that?
Holy shit, it's a cat. Did you hear him?
Yeah.
It's a kitty. Look at the kitty.
Who's that?
Biggie.
Who's that Biggie? That Biggie. That's Biggie.
It's a
Biggie meet
fucking
Denny.
stare down.
Oh yeah.
They don't give a fuck.
No. He's just wondering when he's gonna get fed again, even though he just ate.
Sure. Um. Well, I'm super proud of you. I know that sounds silly. You don't know me. I don't really know you.
We know each
We know
other.
we've known each other for an hour and a half, but I know that I know it's not super easy, but it gets easier and easier and easier.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm proud of you too, dude. Shit.
6 years for me now. Wasn't my first time to the rodeo.
Same, dude. This is my third. I got, you know, I got 86 days right now. But this was my third go around, and this was the go around that I did it for myself. The first two, well, I didn't do it for me, you know, and it didn't
Yeah,
last. But this was the one where I'm like, I realized I have so much, dude. I have a great band, great friends, a lot of love in my life, and I didn't want to waste it anymore, you know. There'd be times where I got to go to a meeting and my band is rehearsing and they know that I can't be there because I got to go to a meeting, but they're rehearsing, learning my songs, you know, making them our songs, you know. And I'm like,
that's
that's,
pretty great.
that's like God given. I can't say good enough about that, you know.
I think that you would trust that they're in a room learning a song and performing it in the way that you want to hear it done also
Absolutely.
says a lot.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's an unheard of thing out here. You know, most people want to fucking see the dollars before they even make an attempt to step in the room, you know.
Of
Which
course.
makes no sense to me. Everybody knows that there's no fucking money in music, you know? What
What?
but yeah, dude, like I've been really humbled and I'm really grateful for everything. So yeah.
Well, I absolutely I love the EP. I've gone back and gotten into all the previous material. Um, I can't wait to hear what you do next. I would love. I mean, I know. I know you know a lot of folks, but I know folks up in Seattle, folks in New York. I might, hopefully, I can connect you guys with if you ever want to make a trip up the coast, or if you're going to do a trip out here. Hopefully, consider me a resource.
Cool. I appreciate that, man. We need all the resources we can get at this point. You know, we're not getting any younger, obviously. And we do want to do it. Like we all want to play really bad. We all want to play outside of our hometown, you know.
Sure.
So I will hit you up on that. Or I'll have Kevin hit you up on that.
Yeah. Delegate authority.
Yeah, he's better. He's really better. He's way better with his words than I am.
Right. Better, maybe better with business communication.
Absolutely.
You got away with words.
Thanks.
Well, listen, thank you so much. Again, my favorite release of the year. So thank you for that.
Dude, that means the world to me. Thank you, man. Thank you so
Keep
much.
up the great work.
Will do.
I'm gonna kill this thing.